Hey there guys, I'm SonicGhost and welcome to Let's Play Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland for the Game Boy Advance. This game is actually a remake of Kirby's Adventure, which was released in 1993 on the NES. The story of Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland is very simple. Basically, the story of the game is King Deity stole the Star Rod from the Fountain of Dreams. And without the Star Rod being inside the Fountain of Dreams, people in Dreamland cannot get a good night's rest. They can't dream properly. So it's up to Kirby to retrieve that Star Rod, put it back in the Fountain of Dreams, so that everyone in Dreamland can get a nice peaceful sleep once again. Very lighthearted story, but this is what Kirby games are known for. Very simple, yet cheery story. Which is nice to see one of the first Kirby games having that same kind of storyline. Kirby's Adventure was one of the first Kirby games we've seen. The first Kirby game that was released was Kirby's Dream Land on the Game Boy. Not too long after that, Kirby's Adventure released on the NES. And it was the first Kirby game that housed Kirby's copy ability. Kirby did not have this ability in Kirby Dream Land, but he started to have this in Kirby's Adventure. So this is the first game that has Kirby's copy abilities, and you'll see when we get into it, the copy abilities don't work as they do in the other games, just because this is the first time we see them in the Kirby series. But let's go ahead and get things started. You can either play a one-player game or a multiplayer game. You need to have more than one copy of the game on your Game Boy Advance in order to play multiplayer, and I've never actually played multiplayer because of that. I was the only one I known as a kid who actually owned this game on the Game Boy Advance. If I played with other people, it was using my cartridge. Maybe at the end of this project we'll get to look at multiplayer, but for now, let's jump into a single player game and get this started with level 1, Vegetable Valley. So entering our first level, we have our first ability, Beam. Beam's a very simple power. You need to suck in an enemy. All you have to do is just hold down the B button to suck in. Once you have an enemy inside of you, you just press down the D-pad and swallow them, and you get their ability. And in this case, we have Beam, which all you do is just press the attack button, and Kirby will spit out this little thing of electricity that was in that little rod that he's holding. Very simple. We have another ability here, which is Spark, which whenever you use it, it just engulfs a little thing of electrical energy around Kirby. But if you fall underneath this waterfall and hug the left side, there's actually a hidden door. I found out about this recently, and inside contains UFO, which is one of the most useful abilities in Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. It's a lot of people's favorite too because of it. This thing can fly around the screen just like how Kirby can normally. Of course I already lose on the first level. Give me that back please, because I'm trying to explain how this works, and I need to stop for a second. You can go ahead and press the B button to do this little energy attack, similar to Beam. You can hold the button a little bit to charge it, but if you hold it all the way, and once you hear that little noise, you get to shoot this very powerful beam, which can go through enemies and walls. It's extremely useful. And this is why a lot of people like UFO. It's a really useful power. The problem UFO has, you can't take it out the level you find it. So I found it here in level 1, it stays in level 1. The second I leave the level, I don't have it. This is the only copy ability in this game that you cannot take outside of levels. But I want to go ahead and enter this little mini game here. This is one of the 3 mini games you can run into in Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. This is Bomb Rally. There's 3 difficulty levels you can play on, and in story mode, it will be set. So in the first area, we only have level 1 to play with. Pretty much Bomb Rally is just playing a game of hot potato with a bomb and frying pans. Kind of weird when you really think about it, and of course I kind of failed down the first instance. Well, no bonus for me. I can shut it off later if I really need to, but basically, because I failed at that miserably, the way that works is you need to bounce back the bomb to your enemies over there, and, well, the higher the place you get, the more lives you get. You get nothing in 4th place, you get 1 life in 3rd place, you get 2 lives in 2nd place, and 3 lives in 1st place. So you always want to hit that 1st place mark. Sometimes it can be really hard, or sometimes, like me, you can screw up on the very first game without even doing much at all. The way you control that game is you press the A button when you have to. That's when you knock your, okay, if I don't get hit by this guy, I can get his power, which is Crash, which is a screen nuke, essentially. Show it off right here. Very useful against mini-bosses, by the way, since it drains nearly all their health. But, what I was trying to say, oh yeah, the mechanics in the game, pretty much you just press the A button and you knock back the bomb at the right time. doing so, well, that's how you win. And the problem is, if you hold down the button, I noticed Kirby just doesn't really hit the bomb, and I guess I held in the button for a little bit too long, so kinda screwed that up. Kinda my fault there, but like I said, I can always show that later if I really need to. But I want to grab this power right here, which is one of my favorites in the Kirby series as a whole, Sword. Sword Kirby is really useful because this is one of the only abilities in the game that have multiple attacks, so you can press the B button while you're on ground to just do a little swipe attack. While in the air, you can go ahead and press the attack button again to do this 360-degree rotation with the sword, which is really useful for taking out any enemies around you. And when you're underwater, you can still use your sword. So, not many powers can do that, not many powers you can use underwater. Sword's one of the very few exceptions to that rule, which is really helpful. But now we have another new power right here, Burning. Burning is essentially 1 to 2 fire moves in this game. Burning is pretty much, you're just doing a quick little fire dash across the screen. It's pretty useful in some cases, but in some other circumstances, burning's not really that useful. I guess it just really depends. But right over here, we have another new ability, Fire. This is the second fire ability that we have, and of course I lose it. Essentially, when you just press the attack button, Kirby will just spit out this little thing of fire. That's essentially it. Not really too much to fire. I personally prefer burning in this game a little bit more, mainly just because, well, I like that little dash ability, but that's about it. But in here, we have the museum. There's a museum in each area, and with each museum has a different power. So, in World 1's museum, we have Sword Kirby. Some museums will actually have 2 abilities for you to choose from. Not all of them do, but some will, so if you ever need a power in a pinch, there you go. Just go to your local museum and you're good to go. But we have another new ability over there. I'm not going to suck it up. That is Cutter. What he just did is essentially what you get. You press the attack button, and you get to go ahead and, well, throw a little boomerang of a cutter. It's pretty useful, but I prefer Sword myself. And what we just got from that mini-boss is Freeze. Freeze is very similar to Spark, where when you press down the attack button, you engulf whatever's around you. But the thing is about Freeze, whenever you use it, everything that is around you in that radius will turn into an ice block, so you can go ahead and kick it, and that can attack another nearby enemy. It's pretty useful, but I still kind of just prefer Spark because of the bigger radius. I don't really like Freeze that much in this game. What we got earlier was Needle. Needle allows us to, just like Spark and Freeze, engulf things in this big old radius. And in my opinion, I prefer Needle out of those 3 because Needle, well, it can engulf more enemies and it looks really cool in my opinion. I really like Needle. But there's 2 things I want to explain before we jump to the boss. The one thing you've been seeing me do at the end of each level is a little bonus game. Simply put, press the A button at the right time, and that will launch you higher up. The higher you go in that area, the more points you get. If you land on the number 1 spot, well, that gives you an extra life. And the last thing I need to explain really quick is that little thing of candy we picked up. That's invincibility. Whenever you see a lollipop in a stage, pick that up, and Kirby becomes invincible for a few seconds. So, very useful. But now we have the boss of our first world, Wispy Woods. Wispy Woods here, very easy. In fact, if you have any power whatsoever, you can just stand in front of him and just wail on him. He'll drop apples to hurt you, and he'll also spit out these little things of air to also hurt you. Very simple, but if you have something like Needle, you can just stand right next to him, hold down the attack button, and there you go. No problem whatsoever. Whenever you defeat a boss, you have this little star rod that appears on the screen, so when you jump into it, it's time for Kirby to do his little victory dance. And with that, World 1 is complete, and we move on to World 2, Ice Cream Island. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the episode here, guys. So, next time on Let's Play Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, we'll take on our second world of the game, Ice Cream Island. I'll see you guys next time.